Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is TheSketchMonkey here. I'm back again at Urban Motors to have a look at the 2023 Nissan Frontier Pro4X. This is the one you want if you're into off-road and you want a Nissan Frontier. What we're going to do in this video is have a look at the front end design, because they say that this is 97% brand new compared to the very old, ancient previous Frontier. We're going to have a look at the front end, the side, the rear, the interior, and then we're going to take this for a drive.
Let's have a look at some of the basic spec and tech of the 2023 Nissan Frontier Pro4X. You have a 3.8-liter V6 putting out 310 horsepower and 281 pound-feet of torque, connected to a 9-speed automatic transmission. Of course, you have 4-wheel drive. 0 to 60 takes 7.3 seconds. Fuel economy comes in at 18 city, 24 highway, and the price for this is $43,790.
Starting with the front end design of the Nissan Frontier, I think that Nissan did such a good job updating the Frontier. The old one definitely looked 20 years old, and this one looks modern. It looks like a 2023 model. It drives, we're going to talk about the drive a little later. I think it's a very interesting driving experience because it sort of feels like a very old truck to drive. More on that a little later. So let's have a look at the graphics here. We have daytime run lights looking very chiseled. The overall front end of this is super chiseled with the chamfers going around here. We have some fake plastic here. Unfortunately, this is not a functional air side curtain. I want to have this be functional because I don't see the point of just covering this up with the same mesh that we have in the front end. When I first saw this, the new generation of the Frontier that came out in, I think, 2022, I thought these headlights, they reminded me a lot of the ones that we have on the Ram trucks, specifically the Ram 1500s and the 2500s. So this section, this headlight housing, feels like it could probably fit a Ram truck, but where it gets real Nissan in the design is definitely in this grille. It feels like they took the Titan grille, just shrunk it down a little bit and applied it onto the front end of the Frontier. We also have Frontier stamped in to the top section of this grille. I like that. To me, that's attention to detail and separates it even further from the big brother. In the middle, you do have the new Nissan logo with the red or orange graphics that also comes back in the interior. So I like the connection that we have with some of the exterior graphics coming back in the interior as well. Looking at the integration of the graphics here, I like what Nissan did with having a chamfer for pretty much every single graphic that you have in the front end, and the grille is completely open both up top here and down here at the bottom. I also like that they added this silver skid plate, so it has a bunch of skid plates underneath, and all of them are pure metal. So this is a proper off-road capable truck, which is great because that's what you want if you go for the Pro4X. In the bumper here, we do have the integrated fog lights in the bottom. We also have the same orange that we have in the logo here in the tow hooks down at the very bottom of the front end. Coming around to the side view of the 2023 Pro4X, you do have this sticker right here. This is an option that I would probably go for because it kind of shows off what it is you're driving. And you also have the off-road wheels and tires. This specific Pro4X does not have the optional beadlock looking wheels, which I also think I would go for because it just looks nice to have all those dots going around it. These are 17-inch with 265mm wide tires all around. I do like the design itself of the wheels, but it feels like this beadlock dots on the ring outside is sort of missing from this design, and it would complement the overall feel and vibe of this truck. One detail I like about the side view of the Frontier is the connection we have with the front graphics stretching out with these two LEDs sort of coming back in a very similar style right here in the back. And I do love the taillight design of the Frontier Pro4X. Specifically, the taillight designs are always going to be LED, but you can get this without the front LEDs, which I would definitely not do because I think having these daytime run lights in the front end just makes this feel like it is a 2023 model by having the graphics in the front. Then looking at the greenhouse here, we do have this dip in the front doors, this reminds me a lot of the Ford F-150 dip that has a very similar design to it. It goes down even further on the F-150 and gives you a much better visibility from the driver's seat to what's going on right next to the front wheels. One line I like in the front end of the Frontier is this line right here. It goes from the middle, this wing that sticks in to the headlights here, continues over the front axle, then dips into the door and fades in this area. I just think that's a beautiful touch and adds some styling to this design, which I think suits the smaller brother of the trucks of Nissan to have a bit more stylized curvatures and lines into the body of this truck. Further down, we do have this optional side step that sets Frontier on it. Not sure if I would go with these, because if you imagine if you go off-road and you go on a very rugged trail, these might stick onto something, or you might hit something with these pieces down here. But you can get just rock sliders, and I think that's the option I would go for, since this sits about an inch higher than a normal Frontier. You want to take advantage of that lift and not add pieces that stick down too far like these do. Coming around to the rear end design of the Frontier, let's just fold this down and you can see that it is damped, and we have this fabric in here for this specific Pro4X. So fold that back up and we can have a look at the design in the back. Very functional. There's nothing crazy going on here, and that's exactly what you want in a truck. You want to have functionality over styling. That's what's going on here. We do still have the new Nissan logo right here in the middle, having the same orange graphics to it in the inside of the Nissan letters and in the inside of the ring itself. Then you have this big Frontier stamped into the tailgate itself. I love that feature. Again, attention to detail, that if you just were to look at this section of the truck, you know exactly what truck it is, because it says big letters down here exactly the name of the truck. Further down, you do have a pretty solid looking bumper, functional, that is rubberized or plastic on top. Then you have some body color sneaking in on each side of the truck. So let's do a close-up of the design and graphics off of these taillights right here. I love what's going on here. It looks very juicy with a big LED up top. Then you have the same thickness in the lower section here. These type of graphics, even though this design otherwise would be an older design, by having graphics like this with some dynamic LEDs, this is what makes it look like a modern truck. I think they did a fantastic job in the rear with the taillights and the same kind of wing sticking in here that we also have in the front end of the truck. Looking at the Frontier from a straight rear view like you do right now, we can see all the functionality. There's no strange pieces or complex pieces sticking into the tailgate itself. Everything is cut by this line, and that's exactly what we want for the functionality. You also have the camera, rear view mounted camera right here in the middle underneath this handle, and of course you have the Pro4X logo on the side over there to show everybody exactly what it is you're driving. Welcome to the interior of the 2023 Nissan Frontier Pro4X. Let's fire it up with the start button right here, and we do have analog gauges for the cluster, and we also have a center display. This right here is a 9-inch display. The weird thing about the Frontier though is that you can get, the standard size is 8 inches. You can option for a 9-inch. To me, it just doesn't make sense. Why not make all of them 9 inches? It's just 1 inch of difference between the two screens. It would make more sense if you had, for example, a 7-inch or a 12-inch. But in this case, we have the 8 or the 9-inch, and we have the 9-inch screen right here. It's pretty functional, easy to use, like pretty much every single Nissan product. You can go through all the information you have right here, go into the navigation if you want the native navigation system of Nissan that doesn't look too great, but it looks pretty functional to me, and this touchscreen is very easy to use and pretty responsive as well. As always, I would probably just hook up my phone and use Apple CarPlay for the navigation and the media and pretty much everything that we can use this screen for. Go back to menu by clicking the menu button right here to go to the home screen. You can customize the home menu as well by just dragging or dropping icons in the screen itself. And if we go back to the home screen, and again, you can see just how responsive and easy this is to use. You also have the volume button here, or knob. for the radio. You also have the tuning or scroll knob on the right side. Looking on the sides of the screen, we find the air vents, and these look super functional, just a big square on each side, 4 of them across the entire dash. Further down, we do have the hazard button right here, and you have the controls for the climate settings. Super easy to control and figure out what's going on with the AC, because you have this knob for it that is textured and very easy to grip. You also have the same thing on the other side for the passengers, and you have the fan speed. No heated or cool seats in this Frontier, but that's okay. Further down, you do have 2 USB slots. So you have a regular USB and a USB-C. You also have this rotary thing here to select whether you want to be in 4-wheel low, 4-wheel high, or 2-wheel drive. I'm guessing most people are going to have it in 2-wheel drive 96% of the time. Further down, we do have a pad for what looks to be wireless charging. I'm not sure if it's actually the wireless charging because it doesn't have the logo on it, but you do have some storage down here. You do have 2 cup holders right here in the center with the gear selector. Let's put it into reverse. Let's have a look at this rear view camera. Looking extremely grainy. So this is not a very high quality reverse camera. I can barely make out what is a Ford Explorer and what is a 4Runner, and they're right next to me. But the cars themselves are gonna pop up as a few pixels so you can see what not to hit when you're reversing. Put it back into park. You have some more storage here for a couple of markers and a big pen. And look at this stitching here. We have the same color that we have on the outside in the logos and the hooks in the front end, for example. That same orange coming back in the stitching around all around this interior. I think it looks fantastic, and of course also in this grab handle here you have this orange style to it, adding some splash of color, making it pop in this interior. Soft touch material up top or on the armrest, obviously. Open this up, and it is a fairly deep storage compartment right here in the middle. However, I don't see any connectivity here. No USBs or 12 volts or anything like that. Looking at these seats, I do like the fabric that we have on the seats. I don't think I would like to have this specific one being in leather. I think fabric suits the Pro4X better. You also have Pro4X right here in the backrest, and of course the stitching, the orange stitching coming back all over the seats with some nice styling in the center part of these seats as well. Moving on to the steering wheel, and this feels like a fairly traditional steering wheel for a Nissan. And you also have the center screen, which you can configure with the buttons right here on the left side of the steering wheel to see the fuel economy, the media, the navigation, and a bunch of different settings. Here you can just figure out what it is you want and then keep it in that setting. You also have the volume buttons here and the tuning buttons for the radio. On the right side, you do have the controls for the cruise control. Not a huge fan of the steering wheel design that we have in the 2023 Frontier, because this feels like a very old steering wheel, and the driving dynamics of this truck even amplifies that even more. We're going to talk more about how this drives in just a second. Moving on to the gauge cluster, I do like the design of this because we do have a nice housing for it. We have some red graphics going around the speedometer and the tachometer, and of course the center screen to put whatever information you want in it. On the left side we have another vent, and you have the tow mode here. You have the controls for the brightness of the gauge cluster, the hill descent control, and you can lock the rear diff from here as well. Looking at the door design, I do like what's going on in the doors. It looks pretty clean to me by having these fluid lines in combination with the orange graphics that we have all around this truck, both on the exterior and the interior. And you have a big shelf at the bottom to put whatever stuff you want, and a huge water bottle in the front end. Up top, we don't have any sort of sunroofs in here, and as you know, that is completely fine with me. It still looks pretty nice to have it be solid black up here. Last but not least, we do have a proper glove box. Let's jump into the back seat. I'm in my driving position right now, so let's see if I can fit behind myself. All right, jumping into the back seat of the 2023 Frontier. The first thing I notice here is just how upright the the back part of the seat is. It's almost 90 degrees, so you're sitting like this. It's not very comfortable because I can't lean back too much. However, I do have a bunch of leg room back here, and of course the roof line being straight, That's a design feature that's definitely going to help the headroom back here, because I feel I have the exact same headroom back here like I do in the front end. And me being 6'1", I do have plenty of room back here, but it's not a place where I wanted to sit for too long just because of this 90-degree angle that I'm sitting in. Further down, we do have a USB-C and a regular USB. And if we fold this centerpiece down, let's see if we have some cup holders. And yes, we do have two big cup holders in the center armrest in the back seat of the 2023 Nissan Frontier. Alright guys, it's time to see what this 3.8 liter V6, a pretty big V6 for a Frontier, what this can do. We have 310 horsepower connected to a 9-speed automatic transmission. 0 to 60 in about 7.8 seconds or something like that, 7.5. So it is pretty powerful, this thing. But the thing about the Frontier, the 2023 Frontier, is that it feels like an old truck to drive. The steering is pretty heavy. It's not really a very dynamic steering. If that's what you're looking for in a truck, I mean, it's pretty hard to find that in any truck, but it just feels heavy and old school. And they say that 97% of this generation, the new one, is new, but what is not new is the frame of the entire truck. So the frame is the same frame that's been around for decades, and I think that might have to do a little bit with how this drives and this old school feel of it. But it's also a truck. It's a Pro4X. It's supposed to be a little rugged and rough around the edges when it comes to the driving, and that's exactly what this is. It is pretty fast though. It's not a slow truck by any means. 310 horsepower, and you also have, that connection with the 9-speed auto. And it sounds pretty good too. The ride is also pretty comfortable. I'm going over some rough roads here, going on to some gravelly bit, and it's very smooth. The suspension feels really nice, and I think having that additional 1-inch lift compared to other Frontiers really helps out with the suspension and the ride quality here. Overall, it's a pretty interesting truck, the new 2023 Frontier, because as I said, it feels like an old school truck. On the outside, it definitely looks like a very modern truck when it comes to design, the LEDs, the graphics that goes on, and the orange accents. It's a beautiful truck on the outside. The interior still has this dated feel to it, but I think some people are gonna find that charming, because nowadays we have big screens everywhere and these analog gauges are definitely slowly going away. So this might actually be a selling point for some people to have these analog gauges that we have in the cluster, and a pretty simple layout overall. Very functional, there's nothing crazy going on. We still have physical buttons for the most important settings. I like this truck. I think it's a good value for around $40,000 for the Pro4X. But if you're getting this, make sure you get the Pro4X and not just the Pro X. I'm not sure what the point is of getting all these off-road capabilities and then you only go with a 2-wheel drive option. I'm not sure if that's even a thing, why Nissan put that one on sale. So definitely go with the 4-wheel drive, and that is of course this one that we have here. Thanks again to Urban Motors for providing this vehicle for me to review for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and make sure you go check out this car. If you're interested in this, go to urbanmotors.com. I'm gonna link that down in the description. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.